All right, so yesterday you read A Dangerous Alley, and we found key details and highlighted that. And then we did this writer's web where we figured out what the main idea of the text was, what it's mostly about. And then we came up with 4 different topics based off of the details that we highlighted. We grouped them into categories and made topics off of those details. And then we wrote about some of the details that from our text that would fall under this topic, that support this topic. Today, we're going to add on to that just a little bit. And I know I'm not in the room with you right now, but I'm still going to give you some new information that is very important for you as you start your writing. So you're going to be writing a informational piece on Tornado Alley, just like the one that we read, but you're going to make it your own. Today, we're going to just do the introduction. Now, it's important that we have a strong introduction when we write, and the reason is because, one, we want to capture our reader's attention. We don't want them to get bored and throw out our writing after the first sentence just because they don't like it. They're not interested in it. We want them to be interested in it, and in order for us to get them interested in what we are writing about and what they are reading, we need to hook them. We need a good hook. Then you also need to provide a little bit of background knowledge for them so that they know what you are writing about. All right, it's important to provide some of that information because maybe they've never heard of whatever you're talking about before. Just like how in A Dangerous Alley, the first paragraph talks about what an alley is. It doesn't even talk about tornadoes, it just talks about what an alley is so that you can relate that information to Tornado Alley. And then you need something that you probably have never heard before, but you're going to be hearing it a lot in the next few years. It's something called a thesis statement. And a thesis statement kind of provides some direction and focus for both you as the writer and our reader. All right, so we need to have a thesis statement because it's the main point of structure for our writing. All right, we're going to follow that thesis in order so that our reader knows what they're going to be reading about in that order. So I am going to, hopefully you've already looked at my introduction and you've compared it to my writer's web to see how I took information from my writer's web and put it into words into my introduction. I'm going to share my introduction on here so I can show you how I organized it. All right, hopefully you can see that. So if you notice on the top, I organized it just like this. In the green, that is my hook. The pink is background information. This dark pink or purple is like a thesis topic, and then this dark purple is supporting details. I'll go ahead and read it for you. I start with my hook, as I underlined in the green. Remember, your hook is something, it can be where like you have your readers visualize something. So you describe something where if they were to close their eyes, they could picture it in their brain exactly because you have so many details. You have their 5 senses that are being used, right? Their sight, their smell, their hearing, touch, all right? You're using all of those senses and you want them to be able to picture that, what you were describing in their head, almost like a movie. You could also have put someone in a situation like imagine you were living in this situation, all right? That hooks them. You could give just a quick fact, a very brief fact where they might be interested in it. This is what I did. The sky is gray and cloudy. Sirens blare and everyone takes shelter. This is a sight you might see if you visit a state in Tornado Alley during tornado season. So notice I described the setting. I said the sky is gray and cloudy. If I was to close my eyes, I can visualize a sky that is gray and there's a lot of clouds. Then I said sirens blare. In states that have a lot of tornadoes, they have sirens that warn you that a tornado is coming and you need to go take shelter. The word blare means that it's ringing really loud. So the sirens are blaring, they're ringing very loud so everyone can hear. And then I listed it with everyone take shelter because first you see gray and cloudy skies, the sirens blare, and then that signals that you need to go take shelter. And then I just described that this is a sight you might see if you visit a state in Tornado Alley. The next thing that I need is some background information, and I underlined it in pink. So I just gave some information on what Tornado Alley even is. In the United States, there are several states that lie in an area called Tornado Alley. Remember to capitalize the T and A in Tornado Alley. I almost forgot right there, but I fixed it. I just gave some information so that if my readers never heard of Tornado Alley, I can just give some background information so that they know what it is. But I don't want to go in a lot of detail because some of those answers that they might be, or some of the questions that they may have, may be answered as you write. And then finally, if I go back up to my key up here, I have my thesis topic and I have my supporting details. Now, here is my thesis. In your thesis, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to list your topic. We did 4 topics. You get to choose one topic to write about, and that's going to be the first part of your thesis. If you notice on my writer's web, I circled it and put a star next to it. That is going to be my thesis. It's the same color as what I underlined on my introduction. My topic for this one up here is called Tornadoes Are Dangerous. So I just turned it into that Tornado Alley is very dangerous. So I said, Tornado Alley can be very dangerous. That's like a statement, all right? This is what I think. This is the topic of what we're talking about. Tornado Alley is dangerous. Now, some people did tornadoes form when moist, warm air and dry, cold air merge and collide. Maybe you write something about that, but you need to make sure that it relates to Tornado Alley because that's our main idea. Then I give my reasons, and now these are going to be your details, but you're not going to write your details in detail. You're just going to kind of summarize what the detail is. For example, I only have 2 details on here, but I put 3 details. This first one is it takes dozens or hundreds of lives. And then my second detail is, oh, you can't see that, is they cause millions of dollars in damage, all right? And then I also added another one. So look at how I didn't use the exact wording I used on my writer's web. I kind of change it and just summarize it a little bit. So I start by saying the tornadoes can take people's lives. All right, I didn't say dozens or 100. I'll go into more detail on that in my body paragraph, but I just summarized it and said it can take people's lives. Then I said they can cause severe damage. I didn't say it can cause millions of dollars in damage. I just summarized it and said it can cause severe. You know, severe means bad. So I said that it can cause severe damage. And then finally, I just listed one more that I didn't have on here, but that tornadoes can be very strong. And I know that because on A Dangerous Alley, in my 3rd paragraph, it talks about how fast tornadoes can go and how wide and tall they can be. So it talks about how they can be very big, very strong, which then would cause a lot of damage and would make it dangerous. So you are going to be doing that today. You are going to choose one topic to be your focus of your piece, and you're going to start with your introduction. You need to make sure you have some kind of hook. You need to give a little bit of background information on what Tornado Alley is. You need your thesis topic, which is going to just be one of these topics, all right, and put it in sentence form just like I did, right? Tornado Alley can be very dangerous because, and then I start listing my details, but I don't write the details word for word that I have on here because I'm going to put it in more detail in my body paragraph when I write that. I'm just going to briefly summarize what that detail is, all right? The tornadoes can take people's lives, they can cause severe damage, and they can be very strong. All right, that is what you're going to be doing today. And when I get back, I hope to see that we have some great introductions ready to go.